Right, let's talk about the new balloon system within Cinema 4D 2023. Right, this is really good. I've been doing quite a few experiments with balloon and cloth and all the different settings. So I wanted to see if I can do lots of little experiments here and then put it into like part 1, part 2 within one video. So you've got little chapters you can go to. So I'll just really do this as like a live broadcast. I'll just keep talking about it and just keep adapting stuff on the screen, right? So there's no definitely planned thing here, so let's just see how we can do this and how it will work. Right, so what we do, rather than just a conventional balloon or a sphere or something like that, let's use something a little bit more interesting, so we can pump air into this object in different ways and we can see how it reacts to all sorts of things. So let's use a figure. Okay, let's use a figure. Now, this figure, let's go our shading lines. This figure, as it stands, it's not a great example because it's all broken up into these separate pieces, right? And that's really not going to work for filling it with air, right? This needs to be one like continuous shape. So the way we do that is we have to put it into a volume builder and volume mesher, and then we need to remesh it. So let me show you how you do that. Just here, look, we've got volume builder. Click on that, and then click on the menu and go to volume mesher. We need the two, right? These work together. Put the volume builder under the mesher as a child, and then we put the figure under the volume builder as a child. Okay, so we get this very, very odd looking shape. Now if we click on volume builder and let's take the voxel size down to 1. Now this is equivalent to pixels, so the smaller the pixel, the tighter and sharper the image. Okay, so this is a 3D pixel. So let's go down to 1, so then it brings back the shape there. Look. And then if we go to the mesher, we can also make some adjustments here, look, where we can push this voxel range threshold up and down as well. Okay, that's actually, let's go back to the build. Let's just put in 2 for that one. That's better. That's the kind of shape we're after. We're not after loads and loads of detail here. We just want a balloon kind of character shape. So let's just see. Yeah, just push it like that. What we don't want is anything intersecting like this. Okay, we want to make sure that all the legs and arms, head, it's all clear. Right, when we've got that, we then go to this menu here and we go to ReMesh, which is sat there, and then we drop all of these underneath the ReMesh as a child of the ReMesh. And as you can see straight away that it's done a really pretty nice job of remeshing that. Let's make it a bit bigger squares. So it works quicker. So let's go to the mesh. Let's leave it on Z remesher or Z remesher if you're from the UK, and the mesh density, let's take that down to 25%. So we've got something a little bit more like that. Okay, don't want it over complicated, just want a nice shape. Now I just need to have a look at the symmetry of this mesh, because it's probably not absolutely symmetrical. So over here where it says symmetric X, on the X it's going to like mirror a symmetrical pattern from one side to the other. So if you click on that, it will make sure that all of the geometry is matching across the X there, so it's spot on. Right, so now once we've got that meshed, we can right click on remesh, go down to connect objects and delete, and click on that. Right, so we just get one polygon, okay, one object polygon there. Let's call that Balloon Buddie. There we go. Let's call him spelled it wrong. Let's call him Balloon Buddie. There we go. That's him. Now he's ready to be inflated with air. Right, but before we do that, let's pop in a floor and then lift him up a little. Yeah, let's just pop him in the air like that, and let's put the floor under there like that, and let's call that floor. Right, oh, I don't know, D floor. Right, so we've got balloon buddy and floor. Right, now what? Let's put some cloth and balloon and have some fun. Right, so on the floor we need to put on a collider, so it will collide. Let's just tick both. I think it's really it's the side it collides with, but if you do both, you've got it covered, haven't you? Just in case it hits the wrong side. And balloon buddy, let's put on balloon. Yeah. So let's just, before we do anything else, let's just add some more frames, because 90 is never enough. Put 2000 in there so the thing will run nicely. Right, before we do anything else with project settings or any other settings on this cloth tag, let's just now press play and just see what happens. Boof. So, not bad off the bat there. You've got an object that's got some air in it. It's actually come through the floor a little, which is not great. It's just collapsed down, but has got some air, and you can see there's definitely some air in that character. Look, as it hits, it's kind of wobbling and flopping about a little. So yes, we have got some air in the character. The fact that it's going through the floor is a calculation issue, and we can address that. So what we do with that is we press Control D, which goes into the project settings. And then if we go to simulation, which is where all this new cloth and balloon and everything else is stored, we want to go to the simulation tab here. And then, as you'll see, the default is 20 substeps and 1 on the iterations. Now, because we've now got a bit more power here, we can use the GPU, we can push these numbers up a little. Right? I know if your computer needs to be fairly decent to do this kind of work anyway, but we can push these up. So the reason that character is going through the floor is because it hasn't got enough calculations at the moment to work out the things that we're telling it. It's like a very like sparse mesh, right? We need to make this iterations of 1 is like a sparse mesh where the calculations, it's missing loads out really. We need to make this big number bigger so it makes the mesh tighter, so there's more calculations basically. I don't know if that made sense. It made sense in my head, but I don't think it made sense. But anyway, 1 is not enough, so let's try 4. It's a little bit trial and error really, this. It's like you don't want to push it too much for some of these things, because then it's going to work out too many things it doesn't need to. So let's try 4. Let's go underneath the floor and just press play again and see if he comes through. As you can see, it's a lot better, right? So if we push it, say, to 6, try it again. A little bit creeping through there, but we've got also collisions on the sea. We've got nothing on extra iterations for collisions, and we've only got 2 passes. So let's take that to 4 and say take that to 2. We'll run that again. Okay, it's probably not too bad like that. It's really not going to show. So now if we see that from the front, let's just zoom out and have a look at what he's doing. Let's just see how that collapses. Yeah, look at that. That really does start to look quite real and convincing of a character that's got some air in it, that's hitting the floor. It's kind of collapsing a bit like that, look, and flopping back and trying to fill with air. Yeah, I would say that's not too bad, not a bad start. Right, so how much air has this character got in? Let's explain that now. Let's go to balloon. Right, as you can see, there is 1 on the overpressure, and expansion time 30 frames. So what does that mean? Basically, if you've got an overpressure of 1, it means that the character's internal air is constant, it's the same. There's no air being added, there's no air being taken away. So the character as you see it now, 1 represents the volume of air inside it as is. If we change up to a 2, we're doubling the air inside that character. So what will it do? Let's have a look what it will do. Okay, as you can see, there's a lot more air being pumped into that character. If you go up another one, so we try 3, excuse me, there, see, he's now got 3, which means his legs unfolded and it popped them out. So that is really, really nice to have that character there. You see, he tries to collapse under himself and then the air is pumping up and it pushed, there we go, and it's pushed the air completely into that character, and you can see it's still wobbling around and looking like a nice kind of, like a balloon, water balloon, that kind of feel. And that's just putting an overpressure of 3, so it's got 3 times the amount of air than having it as 1. And the 30 frames is how long it takes to inflate it. 30 frames is equivalent to 1 second. If you're doing a 30 frames per second video, which you know is quite common, 60 frames is also quite popular, isn't it? So that would be half a second if you're doing it at 60 frames. So we could up that to say 90 frames, and in this example that would be 3 seconds. So it would take longer to fill it with air like this. Still filling, so it's filled about now. Okay, and it will probably just move around on the screen a little like that. So the reason it's not done the same as it did before is because of the way it's been, you know, the rate it was filled. So if we take that, say, down to 10 frames, it will fill very quickly. Yeah, so the thing's filled up before it hits the floor. Excuse me. Okay, and the bigger the number here, the longer it takes to fill with air. So it'll flop down, not much air in it, and then over the course of 200 frames it will pump like it's doing now, look, more air into it. So there you go. So it just takes longer to get to that state. So I'm going to keep it about 90 and the overpressure of 3 seems absolutely fine. So there we go, that's the start of how you get a character filled with air, looking a bit like a balloon. Now we can do a bit more with this. At the moment it's a very even expanse, you know, inflation, sorry, it's a very even inflation of air. It's basically just pumping up evenly from the inside. Now if you're blowing up a balloon or pumping up a lilo or a bouncy castle, something like that, the air comes from a particular source, doesn't it? It comes from an entry point, a valve or something on the object. So we can try to simulate that, because it might be quite nice in some things like lilos, bouncy castles, swimming pool, that kind of stuff. It might be nice to show it inflate from an actual one point, and then the air is kind of blowing in. So how do we do that on here? Right, what we do is we need to use something called a vertex map, and we're going to control the flow of how the air comes through using that. So what we do, we go on our character, Balloon Buddie, we right click and we go to other tags, and then on there at the bottom, vertex map. Okay, the character will turn red, and at this point we've got our menu up here that says painting. So we've actually got a paintbrush ready to paint on to this red. Now what a vertex map does really is, it's like an alpha channel really. It's saying red isn't affected, nothing's affected, and then when it's painted, you'll see in a minute, when I paint it, it will go yellow. The yellow is affected by what we're going to use. Okay, so let's just say, for example, we want this balloon buddy to be pumped up from this hand here, all right? So what we do is we just paint, over here it says visible only, so let's uncheck that, okay? Because then it will paint on both sides, I'll show you. So let's just go across here, look, and paint some yellow. Now if you just look round here, look, it's painted it all round, okay? Let's paint some yellow on his hand. And we're going to say that that is where it's going to blow up from. That is the valve where we're going to blow the air into this character. Okay, so if we go onto the Vertex map now, we need to check use fields. I want to show you a couple of versions of what happens here, but to blow the character up from one source, we select the hand, it turns yellow. We go to this tab here where it says use fields. We click on freeze, which has already been populated there. Look. And then on the mode down here, we need to change that to grow. And then the radius, let's try something like 15, and let's try, I don't know, trial and error, let's try 30 on the effect strength. So what this is going to do, ignore the thing filling with air at the moment. I just want you to look at the yellow part grow. Right, so just watch this. So the yellow bit there, you see how that's going across the character until it's now yellow. Right, so we've got that working. We've got a vertex map now that's growing. Okay. What we do with that is when we go to balloon, we go to this balloon tag, this cloth expression, we go to surface, and if you flick these little menus down, these little arrows, you'll see it says map. Okay. Now we need to add an amount of bendiness and stretchiness to this material. Okay, so let's just pop in, say 5, and stretchiness, say 20 for now, something like that. Now what we need to do here is we need to feed that vertex map into these places here that say map. Okay, and what that's going to do, if I just show you, let's rewind back and play. What that is going to do, I think we need a little bit more. Let's try, let's put this up to a bigger number, like 60, and that about 10. Let's try that. Right, it's also, let's turn off the gravity for now. So let's go Control D into the simulation settings, into scene, and let's zero out the gravity. Because what I don't want to do is for it to flop to the floor, you can't really see what's happening. So if I turn off the gravity, it will just hover around in the air there. Let's press play. Now as you can see, look, the character is being inflated on this side in there. Look. Now let's make this more obvious by going to balloon and saying let's overpressure this with 10. Okay, now let's have a look. Right. Now we can see a difference, and let that play out. Look, it's like he's turning into the Hulk or something, doesn't it? It's like that's David Banner, and then he gets angry and gets mad and turns into the Hulk. There we go. Could use it for that, couldn't you? Something like that, changing state from a small character into like a large superhero kind of inflatable balloon man or something. But it almost even looked like he's putting his jacket on there. You can see that. That's a nice little head movement, look like just poked in, putting on a big suit. Anyway, what's happening there, look, is I love it. It's now got all nice and filled with air, and it's just floating around. But as you can see, let's click on the vertex map and just show you this working again. Look. So as that map has now been fed into the bendiness and the stretchiness, it's controlling how the material stretches by using this controlled map, which has got set to grow. It's got the fields on it to grow across it. If we don't have it grow, what do you think will happen if it doesn't have this yellow effect growing across the character like that, if it's just a yellow blob here and we don't make it grow, what will happen? Let's make another vertex map. Let's take out the freeze, and so I think take off use field, so we've just got that, and let's call that one hand. Let's put hand at the end of that one so we know the difference. Right, so if we go to our surface now where we've got the original ones, let's pop in this new one here that says hand in there, okay, and let's play that. Look at that, unbelievable. Look at the difference. Look at the difference in using a vertex map in a different way. You know, it really is quite incredible, this stuff. Look. So what it's doing, let's go back to that vertex map. This vertex map isn't growing like the other one. The other one was starting off at a point and it was growing across the character until it was all yellow. That was then going to represent how the air was going to flow around that character. Now here we've got a static vertex map. We're not using fields like this one with the freeze and the grow. This one is just a painted on colour, just on the hand, okay? And what that's doing, it's not going anywhere, it's just going to say, right, this yellow bit is totally on and it's totally going to expand when the air is blown into it, and the red will do nothing, right? The red is unaffected. So that's what's happening there. It's blowing it. I mean, it is affected because we've got a kind of a, I'm trying to explain what that does. It's you're going to get like a bit of a bleed overlay between the two as it's trying to adjust, but it is trying to stick, and it might be to do with the calculations again and upping those to get this to change. Let's just try that actually and see if we can just increase some of these. So go 30 there, let's go 8 or even 10. Let's just not 810. Let's just see if that makes any difference to this. Yeah, it does. So really you have to be looking at your project settings while you do this, right? So if you're making changes at this level, the bendiness and the stretchiness and the vertex maps and the balloons and overpressures, if you don't get the project settings up enough, these are not going to represent exactly what you should be getting, right? The more you push these up, the closer these other settings are going to be to acting correctly, right? These calculations, if they're taken out to make your computer run quicker, they're not going to represent what you want, right? So you really just need to push these numbers up a bit. So I think 30, 10, 4, 2 there, but you know, the ones I've got there are making this work as expected, right? Because that yellow should be the only bit that's been inflated here. Okay, so if we just let that play out, look. That's really good, isn't it? So that is where the inflation has happened, okay? Just in the hand, like that, look. Blowing up there. If we go back to the other one, let's just pop the other one back in. The original one with the grow, and let's click on that. You'll see we're starting off with exactly the same point, but this one, look, we've set it to grow across the whole of the character by using fields, okay? Where it says here, look, use fields, make sure you click on that, and then you get the freeze, and then you go to mode grow, and then we play around with the radius and effect strength here until we get something we like. You know, you can have that go quicker or slower from the first little yellow bit until it's covered the character. So that's a couple of ways you're using a vertex map to blow air into these characters, okay? Another way is just make another vertex map, and let's call that various parts. Okay, because what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to get busy with the paintbrush, and I'm going to paint some other areas on here like this. A little bit there, maybe a bit on this leg like that. Okay, so we've got different blobs now put onto this. Now again, let's go back to here and let's feed, where did I put it? Third one, there it is, various parts vertex map. Okay, let's click on it. Let's go back to the start, press play, and what do you think is going to happen? Basically, before I press play, what do you think will happen now we've got those yellow areas marked out? If you said they will fill with air and the rest of the body won't, then you're absolutely right. Anywhere that's yellow and we've dropped that vertex map in to these areas here, so it's going to affect the stretchiness of this material, it's going to affect the bendiness of this material. That vertex map, yellow is going to be active, and anything red is not going to be part. You know, it's not part of the calculation. So let's press play, and I'll show you. There we go. Look, anything yellow is being affected by the air being blown in. Now the other thing is, anything that the biggest part on there is the foot, that's getting the most air. You see how that's distributing that out? That's getting the most air. Now with vertex maps, you can like rub them out. So this yellow, if we don't want that much, we can press Control, and then we can deduct some of the yellow like that. So if I take away some of that yellow and then I try it again, it's a little bit more even. It's still weighting towards the foot, so let's take a bit more out like that. Let's try it again. And now the head has grown more than the other parts. Okay, so what it is, it's it's really good, this, isn't it? Let's put this in a subdivision surface. Let's pop it in there. We'll get a little bit more detail, and let's just make a nice material for this. So let's just go something like that, a bit transparent. Let's take a color, let's copy that and paste it into these couple of places here. Excuse me, and let's just see, reflectance, let's take on, yeah, let's just make it a bit shiny, nice kind of balloon sort of feel to it. Okay, let's just drop that onto there, and let's have a look what we're getting. Okay, maybe we need a little bit more, bit of physical sky on there, just to show. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, yeah, it's a bit sharper. Look, you can see. So what's happening is, if we go back to the vertex map, look, it's basically looking at the areas of yellow, and it's saying the air is going to inflate these areas where it's yellow, and where there's more yellow, it's going to inflate more air. So what's happening is, the biggest area of yellow is the head. That is going to get more air pumped into the head. Okay, until it just floats around on the screen looking very strange. There you go. So I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I've got to go through lots and lots of different things here to do with balloons. So that's vertex maps. We've created the character. We've got vertex maps controlling where the air is pumped in. Okay, so if we don't use Vertex Maps, just delete them and then press play. It will just evenly inflate the character. Okay, so we know that Vertex Maps are really important if we want to decide how it's inflated, what parts of it are inflated. You could just inflate the head and nothing else, or you know, the stomach, so you've got that control. Right, what else can we do with this character in balloon mode? Let's have a look at another setting on here. Let's have a look at another setting on here called the this one, plastic deformation. So what this does is it changes the state of an object. Say an object gets damaged, right? So think of it as metal, plastic, something that's like dented, and so unlike rubber, you know, so a balloon basically it will pop out and it will return back to normal because of the nature of that rubberness to the material. But this plastic deformation, it's been added in here in cloth. Maybe they should do a plastic, you know, metal and all sorts of different tabs here, but it's going to change the state permanently of what happens to the material. Okay, let me, rather than try to explain it, let me actually show you. So if we check the bend deform and the stretch deform, and we play with those on, I'm not sure if you'll actually see. Right, you can see some things happening here which are a little bit different to what would normally happen, right? So what it's doing is it's kind of pushing the air out and it's deforming. Let me actually feed in this various parts vertex map, the one that's got these yellow bits on, and let's just try and let's play it with those on. Okay, so what's happening is it's blowing into these parts, the air's blowing into these parts, but what it's done is it's altered the state of this now, and I can prove that by going to the balloon where we've got this overpressure of 10, and now if I take that overpressure, so it's basically it's blown all this air into this which is now probably like a thin plastic or thin metal or something, right? We've got to think of it unlike rubber, right? This is something that's the state of the material can change and it can stay changed. Right, so if we take the pressure and we take that, say, down to 2, and then we keep playing this, what's going to happen is the air is going to come out. Okay, see what's happened there is it's blown up with the pressure of 10, so it's like 10 times the air that's going into this character. It's blown out in those yellow areas where the air is being pumped into. It's damaged those areas by overstretching them, and it's stayed in a damaged state. Okay, like a perished rubber, maybe something that's damaged and then can't return. It's got no elasticity. It's basically just stretched out and it's lost all its elastic, and it's become this kind of permanent state. And then as you draw the air back out of it, it can't come back. You know, the rubber can't return. So that's what I'm trying to explain this the best I can. But you can see, hopefully, by what's on the screen, is the air's come out, but these areas here which have been deformed, this plastic deform on the bend and the stretch, have kept it in a permanent state now. Right, it's permanently damaged. So if we try that again, excuse me, if we try that again with these turned off. Let's go back onto there and let's just watch what happens. Sorry, we've taken the expansion out, haven't we? Yeah, we need to put 10 back in there so the thing will blow up like this. We haven't got these in the vertex map. So we haven't got the vertex map in these areas, so you couldn't really see it. So that's what happens to these areas normally. When we go to plastic deformation, though, if we turn that back on, go back to the beginning, those areas which are being inflated, the same parts, yeah. When the plastic deformation is on, that's now permanently changed those areas. Okay, so that's what I really want to show is if we take the air out, take it out completely, you can go 0 and then press play, and then it will just shrink over 90 frames. Let's see what that's going to do over 90 frames. So it's going to try and take all the air out of this character. There we go. And then it will start to go maybe a little bit mad, but I mean, I think that explains it. It's permanently stretched this material by having all that air in it, and then it's just left baggy, and then it's like it can't contract. So that's what plastic deformation does. I won't do the pole one because we're not doing poles in this. This is for when we do soft body, so I'll do that in another video. I'm just going to keep it as simple as I can. But hopefully that explains that. Now, what else can we do with balloon? We can attach it. We can attach a balloon to a piece of string and let it drift up. It seems quite a nice thing to try, doesn't it? Okay, so what have we got? Let's make let's just inflate it normally. Let's take out the Vertex Maps. Let's go in here and delete all of these out. No, sorry, let's turn that one off completely. Let's go back to surface. Let's take out those as well. Let's put that into something like 10. So we're not going to use maps on here. We're just going to have a character inflate. How much have we got there? Oh no, we haven't got any inflation at all. So let's put in about 5. Let's try that. That's over 90 frames. Let's do it over 30 frames. Okay. There we go. That's all I want. I don't want the other things for now. I just want a character like that. That's got air in it. That's going to float. Right. Let's attach it to a piece of string. So what we do, let's go into the front view like that, and let's get a spline pen. Let's attach it to his foot. Right, so you put that there, and then let's pull it down here somewhere like a line, and then escape out. So we've just got one spline. Let's go and grab a sweep, and then let's also grab a circle that we're going to make probably 1 centimeter. We'll put that under the sweep, and then the spline as a child underneath there as well. And let's come out. Let's take away the floor, and now we can see we've got this quite thick string. So let's take the circle down. About 0.3. Okay, so we've got this like thread, this cord, which is going to do that, and it's going to attach to this foot. Now the way we do that is we go on spline, right click, simulation rope, and then we go back, right click, simulation connector. And then we click on spline and click on rope, and then we have it in point mode, which we're in, and then we need to highlight the top one. So let's just go into this normal brush selection tool here, and then just highlight the top, and it will highlight that very top node there, that little point at the top. When that's highlighted, we go on connector and we click on live update, and then the search radius we want to make bigger. And this is I'll just show you what's happening. As you can see, inside the foot, these yellow threads are all shooting out from the top because they're all making connections. Okay, so they're going to connect nice and tightly to that foot like that. Okay, so that's that one connected. Before we go any further, if we click on spline, we need to change the intermediate points to uniform, and then up that to about 50, and it will subdivide this up into 50 points, so it will act more like string and not like just a stiff rod. Okay, so you've got to make sure you subdivide it. And then if we go to the very bottom of this spline and click the bottom node, okay, we then, if we right click on spline and go to, let's have a look, what can we have? Rope belt, I believe. I think it's rope belt. Yeah, let's try rope belt. Okay, and then if we just put a cube down here, let's make it a bit smaller, like 10 by 10 by 10. It's just like a little weight. And then we'll drop that down. Let's just see if we've got that in the right place, shall we? Let's use some different views so we can get that to fit there like that. And then here on that view, let's just pop it across there. There we go. So that's about in the right place. So there's our weight. So what we do then is we go back to the rope belt there, and then we drop the cube into the object and say set. So that though, if we go in nice and close, there's a little yellow dot that's shot out there. That, see that little thread? And that's connected it to that block. Excuse me. Right. Let's have a look at where we are now. So we should, let's turn off that grid. I don't like that. Let's take that work plane off. Right, so there we are. We have, let's come out and go out shading. Let's put it on quick shading. There we go. So we've now got our balloon buddy with a string and a block, like a weight on the bottom. So let's see what happens if we press play. Right, I think, yeah, the string is following his foot. Now he's probably going to float down. Oh, he's probably going to float up again in a minute. Yeah. So if we want him to go up like he's filled with helium, what we can do is go to the project settings here. Oh, hang on, it's just, I thought it had crashed there for a minute. If we go to scene, and gravity is on 0, but what we can do is we can add some, and like minus gravity. Well, gravity is minus 981. So if we add, say, 400 in the plus direction, that means that it's trying to force everything to go up. Okay, so it's like it's now filled with helium, you see? Then that string is now nicely attached to his foot, and he's just going to be floating around in the scene, and the gravity being 400 plus is the opposite to gravity pushing you down to the floor. This is now pushing 400 up, so it's kind of lifting, it's giving you that sense of lift. Yeah, so it's like this character's got helium in there. So to make this more realistic, we could go to simulate forces and we could add some turbulence or wind into this scene. So add some turbulence, let's bring up the strength and the scale. Let's play. Let's have a look at whether should we change aerodynamics and wind there, look. Okay, yeah, so he's getting blown about nicely there, look. Blown about in the wind while being attached to this cord, attached to his foot, and he's billowing around quite nicely. So do a quick render of that. And let's also just put, if we use a luminance, we can put that on the string and then you'll see it. There we go, look. So weight, string, probably a bit thick still for string, and then our balloon guy floating around on the end doing some lovely balloon dancing. So, have we covered it all? What else can we do for balloons? Oh, I know. We can pop it. We can pop the balloon. Okay? We haven't popped him yet. So, there is another setting in here where we can pop our balloon. Let's go back to some lines on here. Right then, so if we go back to our balloon buddy, we click on the balloon icon there, look, and then we go to surface. Just here, there's a setting called tearing. Right, so if it's expand that, and then we click on cloth tearing. Right, so at the moment it's 150. Let's just have a look what happens if we just press play now. So as you can see, straight away it's popped. So let's just have a look at where this, oh, hang on, what's this? Yeah, you see that? There's a, it's probably not that easy to see, but there's a seam here that's popped. So if I just render that, probably be able to see it better if I do this. Yeah, so basically what it's done is it's just decided at random to find a weak spot at 150 tear, and see it there, and it's just basically just popped the seam and all the air's come out. So exactly what you'd expect from like a real balloon. So if we push this up to say 500, nice big number, and then play it, we probably will be okay because it's a bigger number and it's not going to just randomly tear, right? So we've now got controls now where we can decide what tears and pops our balloon and where it pops. Okay, now if you remember back when we were looking at Vertex Maps of where we inflated the balloon using Vertex Maps, we can do exactly the same thing with a Vertex Map of where it pops the balloon. Okay, so the way we do that is exactly the same way. Where do we want this balloon to pop? Let's pop it on his head. Okay, so what we do then is we right click, we go to, right click on the balloon buddy, on your character, go to other tags, go to Vertex Map. Let's paint a little bit on the top of his head like that, look, and that is going to be our weak area that will pop. So if we go back to the balloon and we go to tearing, if we just put this arrow down and unfold this menu, we've got map, so it's a place for this Vertex Map. So let's have a look at these figures. Let's see what might work. Let's go 250. Let's leave the rest as it is. And then let's see. It's a little bit of trial and error, this one. Let's see if it actually just pops. But nothing's actually. Oh, here we go. Yeah, nothing's going to pop. And it popped. Let's just have a look and see. There we go, look at that. Absolutely fantastic. Big seam split there. So if I go back to there, that you can see that's exactly the area that we've designated to pop. Okay, the rest of it is fine. That's the weak spot. So let's just go back to the balloon. Let's just try that again, because it'll be slightly different each time. It's just the random nature of this, but off it goes. It's expanding with air, and when it gets to a certain point, there it went. Look. Okay, so what we're doing, we're expanding it with like five times the amount of air. So because we've got tearing, and we've put it to a setting which is going to react, if we put the figures up too high, it won't tear. But 250 and 120 seems to be a nice sweet spot for this to tear under those conditions. And as you can see there, that a nice split. Excuse me, a nice split in the top there, which is exactly where we asked it to do it. So again, you can paint another area on here. You know, we could paint it on the foot, and that obviously is live and it updates the Vertex map. Excuse me, I'm really sorry about this cough. It's usually when I do a lot of talking. So let's just play that again and see where it pops. Does it pop on the head or the foot this time? Because we've now got two areas. Let's have a look at the foot. See if it's got any splitting on the foot. Yep, look at that. Nice big tear there on the foot. Fantastic. It may have even done the same on the head. It may have done it in two spots, or it may have just gone there first. Yeah, look at that. Head's fine. It's blown it out from that other weak spot. So really nice, really fun system here. There's probably more balloon related things that we can do, but I don't want this video to go on all night. I think that's probably enough for now. If there's anything more balloon related that you want to know about, that or something obvious that I've forgotten about, then pop it in the comments below, and I will probably do a part 2 to this and mop up all the other balloon based things in another tutorial. My name is Mike German from Visual Animation. Take care. Goodbye for now.